Hey everyone, my name is Ivan Albrook and welcome back to another Pokemon video. Today we are going to go over the results of the European International Championships that just finished today actually. What we're looking at here are the results on the screen here. We're going to go through the decks, basically just through the top 8 decks, and we're going to just talk about what we saw. So if you watched my last video of the tier list video, I thought Guardy probably had the best shot at winning the tournament. That was my only S tier deck, and the highest place in Guardy was 18. So nowhere near to winning. I know it lost the winning into asymmetrical cut on stream, but as you can see by these results, there's a lot of decks that caught a lot of people by surprise. And that's what happens in Pokemon. Any deck can win on any given day. So we're just gonna take a quick look through the top 32, see if there's anything interesting here. There's a Gouging Fire top 32. I also said, you know, a Gouging Fire could probably cheese its way into top 32. Look at that, it did. The biggest thing though was the highest placing Miraidon was number 26 in the standings. That is a deck I did not think would place that low. I thought there would have been maybe one in top 8 just because of how popular it was, but it turns out that that's not what happened. So we saw a lot of Miraidons. It was, you know, one of the most popular decks. From what I remember, I think Dragapult was right on that 15% as I predicted. And then I believe Miraidon was the second most played deck, if I'm not mistaken. And then, you know, Lugia was only about 8%. There was a lot of Goldango, and that caught me off guard personally. I did not think you'd see any Goldangos, and that is something that caught me off guard, honestly. Goldango is a great deck though, it always has been. I just figured that with the use of Badoo, I thought the play rate would go down, but I was wrong. Goldango, you know, really showed up this weekend, and as you can see by the standings here, Cloth Terapagos took the win over Dragapult. We're going to go over that in a second, but we're going to review the top 8 decks. So we have James Cox at 8th with Dragapult Dusknoir, and then we have Roan Nielsen and Daniel Magda with Snorlax, Vinny Fernandez in 5th place with Dragapult, and then the top 4 decks was Simone Fiorito with Archaludon Dialga, Xander Perot with Goldango, and then as I just said, Ryuki in 1st place with Cloth, and Natalie Miller 2nd place with Dragapult. Wow. I figured we'd get a couple Dragapults in top 8. You know, 3 of them made it in, which is as to be expected. And I expected, you know, some Snorlaxes to do well, and it looks like, you know, I was kind of correct on that. There was 3 within the top 16, and actually 2 in top 8. It looks like there was actually 4 that made top 32 or higher. So that's something that I predicted correctly. But Gardevoir is something that I didn't expect there to be literally 0 in top cut. I thought this was going to be, you know, like a Dragapult Guardy cut with a couple of random decks mixed in, like maybe a Lax, or I expected Lugia to do well, but it looks like it absolutely flopped this event, and that was my the deck I predicted to win. And the highest placing Lugia looks like was Sergio Rodriguez from Canada. Yeah, 41st place. Did not think Lugia would place that low. Looks like it just didn't have that luck on its side this weekend. But yeah, let's focus in on the top 8. So we have James Cox at 8th. Probably he's got a standard Dragapult list. Yeah, this is pretty typical. A 3-1-2 line makes total sense. Nothing out of the ordinary. Looks like a pretty standard Dragapult. Only 2 lances. Plays a Turo. Plays a Vacuum. Nothing too special about it, really. It's just a standard Dragapult list. If we go here, oh god. Let's look at Roan Nielsen's Snorlax list. Wow, okay. I didn't expect to see the Milotic line there. Played Mawile, it played Cornerstone, played Diancie, and it played Enriching Energy, which is very, very interesting. I'm a big fan of that card in this deck, honestly. And 2 Jet Energies. That is very interesting. I had a feeling Snorlax is, a decent deck. A lot of people were ragging on it for it not having a great meta, but Snorlax, is a lot better than people seem to think. The generic player base is going to be playing those Miraidons and the Raging Bolts and the Charizards. Yeah, and no one wants to play against Snorlax, but the Snorlax players come out for these tournaments for that reason. And look at that, 2 made top 8. So this is a wow. Okay, this is an interesting Snorlax list. I did not expect to see no Mimikyus. 4 boxed orders. We've seen that before. Actually, one of Cyrus Davis's lists had boxed order. 4 flutes. Secret box as the ace spec, which is interesting. And then other than that, it's a pretty standard Snorlax list. 3 Temple of Sinnoh for those pesky Lugias. Only 1 Rotom V, which is very interesting as well. Usually Snorlax players double up on the Rotom, but not this time, I guess. Looks like it worked out for Daniel. And Vinny Fernandez, who finished 5th place, his brother won the seniors division with the exact same list, and his brother is one of the most successful senior players during this time. So let's take a look at this. This is basically the senior winners list, I'm pretty sure. We've got the 442 Dragapult line, 2 Lumineons, which is super interesting, Klefki, which is something I didn't expect to see, Monkey Dory. I've seen a couple Dragapults try to splash that in, but never really worked out. Another thing is there's no Sparkling Crystal, there's no Dusk Noirs. This is like a straight Dragapult list with a couple Badoos and whatnot. Ursaluna thrown in there as well. Yeah, and this is a super unique list in my opinion. You have Defiance Vest, you have Lost City, you play 4/3 Psychics, like 3 Lances, 2 Turos. Man, this list is just crazy, and it worked out. So, yeah, Gabriel Fernandez, who won the seniors division, I believe, was playing this exact Dragapult list. And hey, he won. So, pretty good for him. Congrats to him. Next, we have our top 4 decks. Archaludon, as I mentioned in my tier list video for EUIC, I thought Archaludon was going to be a good sleeper deck. And look, it top 4'd. That's pretty dang good. The next highest placing one, wow, it did not, okay, 70th, Alex Szymanski. Yeah, didn't expect there was only to be 1 within the top 16. I thought there would have been more. But Simone, I watched his stream game the other day, and everything went well for him. So he's playing the 2/2 Dialga line, which is, totally reasonable. You probably want to get it out as much as possible. He's also playing that Relicanth, which I think is a really good inclusion. He's playing the Thornton as well. Only 1 Jamming Tower and 1 Artisan. I typically play 2 Jamming Towers because I think, it's really good into, those TM Evo decks and or Sealstone decks. So it's cool to see the Artisan thrown in there as well. But yeah, other than that, looks like a pretty standard Archaludon list. The cool thing is that the 2/2 Dialga line, typically we've seen a lot of people, get away from that. They usually do 1/1 or they don't even play Dialga in their lists, but 2/2 is really interesting and looks like it worked out well for him. So congrats to him on top 4ing with Archaludon Dialga. And then third place, this is, just a deck that caught me off guard the entire weekend. It is Goldengo. So did not expect to see this deck do this well. I thought that with the power of Badoo, this deck was not going to see much success, but I was incorrect. There were a lot of people that made day 2 with this deck in this specific list. If you follow any of the more successful Pokemon players, Xander Perot is one of the more successful players. Isaiah Bradner and his group with like Rahul and John Eng and stuff like that. Very successful testing group. Looks like it's just a straight Goldengo list. No Palkia, nothing like that. It just looks like it's a 4/4 Dango list. Super simple. Fez, Ninja, Bundle, Monkey Dory. That's it. Very simple list. And they're playing the TM Evo. They're playing Vacuum. They're playing 2 Waters, 2 Darks. Super interesting list. 3 Cypher Maniacs and 2 Turos. That is something you don't see. And then Arven as well. No Iridas, which makes sense if you're not playing the Palkia version, I guess. But wow, just a really interesting list. They're playing the Palpad and the Switch as well. I'm gonna have to give this deck a shot, honestly. I used to play Goldengo with Palkia, but I stopped playing it just because the Badoos and stuff like that. But I guess it doesn't even matter because I guess half the meta was Miraidons and all that crap. But it looks like the Goldengo train really came about this weekend. I didn't think we'd see much of any of that, but I was totally wrong. So congrats to Xander on 3rd. And here we go. We are going to talk about the top 2 lists. So let's look at Natalie Miller's list. Feels really bad for Natalie. She got donked in game 1. She won game 2, and then game 3 she got donked again. I would have hated to be in that position. Work your way to the finals and just get donked. That is crazy. That is so unlucky. Feels bad for her, but it's the name of the game. There are decks that exist that can donk people. So, but still, second at an IC, really big accomplishment. She is locked up her invite for Worlds. Congrats to her. Yeah, this looks like a pretty standard Dragapult list. You have your 4/4-3 Dragapult line. She's running the 3/2-1 Dusknoir line, which typically you might see like a 3/1-2 line or a 3/2-2 line. 3/2-1 is super interesting in my opinion. She's also playing the double stretcher to be able to get that back. And then she's playing Rotom, Luminion, Fez, Alakazam, Badoo. Pretty standard. 4 Arven, 3 Iono, 3 Lance, 1 Boss, 1 Turo. That's pretty standard. Standard energy lineup. And you have your typical 4 Body Poffins, 3 Ultra, 2 Nest, 2 Candy, 2 Stretcher, Catcher, Vessel, Rescue Board, Temple, Sealstone, Crystal. So pretty standard list. I'm gonna have to give this deck a shot. I've kind of strayed away from playing Dragapult just because I wasn't sure how good it was, but after this tournament, I think a lot more people are gonna pick this deck up. It did very, very well, as we can tell by the standings. You have 1, 2, 3 in top 8, and then you have a Poltzard in 9th and a Polt Noir in 10th. So just an overwhelming amount of Dragapult in top 16. And yeah, so Dragapult's very successful right now, and I genuinely thought it had a great shot at winning the tournament. I thought Guardy also had a good shot, but as I mentioned before, not a lot of people were successful with it this weekend. In terms of the highest placements of them, I thought Lugia was going to do better as well, and again, I think one made top 64, or maybe a couple made top 64, but hey, can't be right all the time. And Cloth, let's just talk about Cloth for a second. On paper, I thought this deck was really good. Didn't think it had the best meta because I wasn't sure how good the Dragapult matchup was. But I guess if you dunk them, then you have a fine matchup. And that's how Ryuki won in the finals versus Natalie. Now, do I think if he didn't donk Natalie could have won? Absolutely, because I feel like on paper, Dragapult seems like it's got the edge over this Cloth build, since you have a lot of weaker Pokemon and you have a lot of two prizers that the damage can be manipulated and taken advantage of. But yeah, that's not how it turned out. Ryuki won with the Terapagos Cloth deck. So let's take a look through. It looks like there's a few tech cards in here. This isn't like a typical Cloth Terapagos list. There's a couple things that catch my eye, like the Monkey Dory and the Dark Energy. That is something I did not expect to see whatsoever. Only 3 Area Zeros I feel like in this deck you gotta play for, but I guess not. Ryuki won with only 3 and only 2 Night Stretchers. I feel like that's really pushing it in terms of resources. He's also playing the Kieran and Carmine, which is pretty cool. Kieran adding that little damage buff, and Carmine, those turn 1 pushes to get the donk is pretty important with this deck. That's how you win half your games, I feel like. And yeah, I feel like everything else is pretty standard. You play 2 stones. I see lists with 1 stone, but 2 stones is completely understandable. I feel like that second stone is that flex spot in the deck. 3 switch cards, I feel like that was a good call, because Lugias are trapping with Sob and all that stuff. And yeah, 2 Arvins, 2 Ionos, 1 Tenacity, 2 Research, 3 Boss. Yeah, that's pretty standard, I'd say. I feel like typically Cloths play like 3 or 4 Arvins, but 2 Arvins makes sense if you want to throw in the Kieran and the Carmine. I guess you only really need 1 Arvin or 2 for the entire game. Obviously you play the Precious Trolley, and you have your 3/3 Mochi Capsule lineup as well. So wow, EUIC was super surprising. Did not expect to see Cloth to win. I thought that, like I said, I thought we saw more Lugias do well, but it completely flopped day 1. Not a lot made day 2. And yeah, I also thought Miraidon would have done well, considering it won 2 straight events leading up to this tournament. But we were wrong, and that's the cool thing about Pokemon. Any deck can win on any given day, and today was Cloth's day. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any comments about EUIC or what you think is going to happen coming into the Vancouver Regional Championships, which is our next major event, let me know down below. I always like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And yeah, so upcoming videos, if anything pops up during the week, I'll make another video. This next week, we have Pokemon Day on Thursday. I'm going to go to a League Challenge on Friday and a League Cup on Sunday. So if I do well at those events, I will definitely make a video on them, and we will talk through it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you want more, subscribe. So thank you so much for watching. Peace out.